Hello and thank you for joining me. I am Mbaya and this is Recap, a look at the week's top PC gaming announcements, news and releases for the week ending 5th of December 2015. Some juicy details have been offered up for Don't Nod Entertainment's new game Vampyr, the next game for the studio that brought us Life is Strange and Remember Me, thanks to the game's director providing an overview of the game on the PlayStation blog. Taking place in the streets of London during the 1918 Spanish flu epidemic, you assume the role of Jonathan Reed, a scientist and doctor during World War I who is trying to come to terms with his newfound vampirism. The gameplay will be an action RPG with visceral combat that still has a trick up its sleeve waiting to be revealed, and the game will also focus quite heavily on exploration and investigation. As a vampire you'll need to feed, and that comes at a price. You'll have to gather information on your prey, as you'll face the consequences for your actions and struggle with your remaining humanity. It's sure to be a ways off yet, but certainly sounds interesting. Let's hope their vision for the game sees the light of day, as long as it doesn't burst into flames upon doing so. Telltale Games will be partnering with Warner Bros. Interactive Entertainment and DC Entertainment to release a new episodic story game based on Batman next year. While little is known, the CEO of Telltale Games says they will give fans a first-hand opportunity to dive deeper into the complex life and mind of Bruce Wayne, the duality of his own identity, and the struggle of responsibility in saving a city overcome with corruption and villainy. Judging by that, don't expect a light-hearted series of biffs and baffs, but instead a darker, brooding tale about Bruce Wayne and his Dark Knight alter ego. The reveal trailer is very stylish, with seeping black ink spreading across paper that I hope in some way is reflected in the game itself, as I'm quite fond of the inky visuals, and it seems to reflect the tone of the game rather well. I admit I'm simply a casual Bat fan, but I wonder if the game will finally reveal to me why all of Batman's gadgets are named the Bat Things, except his trusty utility belt. Why is it not called the Bat Belt? That's the only mystery I need to be solved. Surely a simple task for the world's greatest detective. Frozen Byte have announced their next game and are moving on from the Trine series with their upcoming third-person stealth game, Shadwen. As Shadwen herself, you're on a quest to kill the king and must stay hidden from guards as you sneak around the environment, using physics to drag and topple objects in an effort to make deaths look accidental, setting up traps and dispatching those that would prevent you from achieving your goals. Time is on your side, as when not controlling Shadwen directly, time will stop, allowing you to evaluate your situation and plan your next move. Not only that, but you'll be given mastery over time itself and be able to rewind to attempt different solutions or correct mistakes made. There might be even more incentive to evade or knock out guards this time around as well, as on your travels you'll meet a small girl known as Lily who will follow you on your quest. Protecting the child's innocence will be another burden you have to consider. The game is expected to arrive sometime next year, and subscribers of the Humble Monthly Bundle for December will be able to get a sneak peek at the game with an early demo. Bandai Namco have released some new gameplay footage of Dark Souls 3, which has revealed the game is due to release on April the 12th, 2016. Having not even finished Dark Souls, it'll be a while before I get around to this punishing but wonderfully dark action game. Just watching the trailer makes me think about booting the original and attempt once more to get to grips with its brutal gameplay, although then I remember the bosses. And as much as I enjoy the game, I'm not sure I've worked up enough courage to go toe to toe with another grotesque nightmare again and again while I figure out just what I'm doing wrong before I finally triumph and can continue exploring the grim setting once more. There's no word on price just yet, but hopefully it will indeed launch alongside the console release. The latest Far Cry Primal trailer offers a glimpse of what you'll be doing besides throwing spears into half-naked men, and what that is taming ferocious animals. As Takar, you'll be the first ever Beastmaster and be able to tame such beasts as a bear, jaguar or the mighty saber-toothed tiger and bring them into battle, silently stalking unaware prey or getting a tribe's attention as you sneak through the trees dispatching them one at a time. Also, there is a remote-controlled owl with bombs that we shall just ignore as best we can. I'm a Far Cry fan, and although they can be a bit silly, I like their settings and the fluidity of the gameplay, so I'm rather looking forward to Primal. It does seem, however, I'll have to wait just a little bit longer as the PC release has been pushed back a week and is due to come out on March the 1st. Ace Team, the developers behind divisive but fascinating and artistic games Xenoclash and Abyss Odyssey, will be releasing their new isometric action role-playing game, The Deadly Tower of Monsters, on the 19th of January. Taking place within a science fiction film recorded during the 1970s, the heroic lead character Dick Starspeed will help Scarlet Nova overthrow her evil father as they fight stunt guys in costumes and stop-motion beasties in order to save the day. While it certainly pays tribute to the science fiction films of old, I'm not totally convinced on the execution of the game. Though I do like my action RPGs, and it seems like a fun setting, I'm eager to learn more about how the game plays, and if there are some fun gameplay quirks to be found beyond the game's interesting theme. Motiga have announced that due to feedback throughout testing and their own expectations of the game, their upcoming third-person action shooter MOBA, Gigantic, will be delayed into 2016. Due to the additional development time, the team has sadly had to lay off 16 employees, and all those impacted will be receiving severances and job placement assistance. It's never easy to lose one's job, especially around the holidays, so I hope all those affected land on their feet and find work again soon. Blackfaun is a roguelike twin-stick styled action RPG that has just entered early access on Steam, where it can be bought for £10.99. Currently in a mature alpha state, the early access is scheduled to last at least 6 months, and already the game features 40 unique enemies and bosses, over 100 items, and procedurally generated environments. It does look like it needs a bit of polish, but it all seems rather enjoyable and colourful, and it might not be much, but I've got a soft spot for flavour text on loot items, which Blackfaun pleasantly has. Defect is a spaceship building and top-down action game that has entered early access on Steam for £10.99 and plans to release around May 2016. As it stands, you have over 100 of the planned 200 or so ship components to combine together to create a ship capable of completing your missions. Only upon completion of that mission your crew will rebel and you'll lose control of your ship, something you'll encounter as an enemy with whatever craft you create next. While you certainly want to create a ship capable of completing your objectives, you absolutely don't want to create one you can't defeat that will hopefully lead to a cycle of construction, combat and defection as you improve on your designs and hunt down those that betrayed you. A pretty interesting concept for a game that I look forward to trying myself, but one standout idea for me is that the game features a dynamic music system. Building a ship creates a music theme unique to that ship. A wonderful touch that I'm eager to experiment with. BioWare's rather excellent Jade Empire is currently EA's On the House title, which means the classic role-playing game can be yours for absolutely no pennies as long as you're happy to use the Origin client. Set in ancient China, you must leave your quiet martial arts school when a series of sinister and supernatural events are set in motion. You'll be using your fancy martial arts skills as well as forging your own path through the world, choosing to be a force of good or evil as you recruit new friends and make many more foes. I remember it being a rather enjoyable game that I never did get around to finish, and it was always one of those games I've thought about rebuying but never did. Now, having a copy for free, I might just get around to finishing the tale. I remember way back in the day playing Ridge Racer on the PlayStation 1 and it being the first time I encountered a minigame on the loading screen, and I thought it was a great idea. No more sitting idly by reading a useless tip for the umpteenth time or twiddling my thumbs while a loading icon circled around in the corner of the screen. I was playing a game within a game. Sure, it wasn't a revolution for gaming, but it was something I enjoyed and looked forward to seeing what other games would do in the future. The problem was, that didn't really happen, and it was all because Namco patented the idea. All those years I could have been playing breakout knockoffs during extended loads, gone. because of a pesky patent. But there is good news, the patent has finally expired and games are free once more to bring the joys of childlike laughter and the bitterness of elderly frustrations to the void of loading screens. I hope it's not too late now we have the likes of SSDs and streaming content, because there is a part of me that still likes them, however silly they may be. The enjoyable Metroidvania title Shadow Complex that was well received back on the Xbox 360 has been slightly remastered and is now available on PC. It will require the Epic Games Launcher client, but that could be a small price to pay as the game itself is completely free for the holidays. I found it to be a great deal of fun back when it first released on Xbox Live Arcade, with its side-scrolling action, numerous unlocks, and exploratory gameplay, so it's a very pleasant surprise that it's finally made its way to our shores, and for free no less. The Epic Games Launcher will also give you access to the current build of the new Unreal Tournament, and you can sign up to test Epic Games' upcoming titles Fortnite and Paragon as well while you're there. If you're interested, head on over to www.epicgames.com/Shadow Complex to start your download. Dr. Langeskov, the Tiger and the Terribly Cursed Emerald, a Whirlwind Heist, is a short 15-minute game by developers Crows and directed by one of the lovely chaps behind the Stanley Parable. A heist game that seems to hit similar notes to the Stanley Parable, you'll once again be joined by a disembodied narrator as you play a master thief in this short, story-driven and comedic experience. Don't dare do more research on this title as I'm worried about spoiling it, but I'm quite excited to give it a go, and good news if you are as well, as the game is completely free on Steam and is out now. Rico returns to save the day by destroying absolutely everything in Just Cause 3, the explosive open world game that's out now for £39.99. This time, the island paradise of Medici is bowing under the weight of a brutal dictator, and you'll be doing such activities as you became accustomed to in Just Cause 2, such as tearing down statues, liberating villages, and destroying military complexes, with a host of weaponry, vehicles, and I think there might be some explosives lying around as well. It's certainly familiar territory, as beautiful as it may be, and you'll now be gliding through the air with your wingsuit together with your trusty parachute and grapple to get around the world. As well as all the explosive fun you can handle, you'll also have access to a series of land, air and sea races, and a few destructive challenges just in case you didn't quite get your fill. It certainly looks to be explosive fun, but it does play things a bit safe, not really moving on much from the previous game, and as well as a slightly sluggish unlock system, many users are experiencing technical issues with the title, especially those with AMD based systems. Hopefully the issues will be addressed quickly, though there is currently no time frame from the developers. A disappointment, and sadly one us gamers are becoming more used to seeing, but many are playing and enjoying the game, and if you like over-the-top action games, you'll find plenty of content scattered around the massive 400 square miles to keep yourself busy. Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege is now out on most online marketplaces for £49.99 and is the latest instalment in the counter-terrorist first-person shooter series that this time around includes some wonderfully destructive maps. Having played a bit of the beta, it was a pretty solid game with a heavy focus on player versus player team-based combat, though the game does feature a cooperative terrorist hunt mode if that's more to your liking. Before heading into battle, you'll first choose an operator with their own specialty and selection of gear, then head into close quarters combat maps and work with your team closely to eliminate your opponents or achieve your objectives. While the game might seem expensive for what's on offer, players will be getting 4 new maps and the ability to unlock 8 new operators over the next year. A nice touch that won't split up the community, but might not be enough to sway those that were hoping for a single player or cooperative campaign. The Siege gameplay is certainly a fun prospect, as you're not quite sure how the defenders have set up their defences, and attackers can come from all angles, so if you're craving a competitive tactical FPS, Rainbow Six Siege might just scratch that itch. Valhalla Hills is out of early access and is available to buy on Steam now for just shy of £24. The game is reminiscent of classic strategy simulations like Settlers and Cultures, with a charming art style and interesting theme. This time you're leading your people, Vikings who were denied entrance to Valhalla, as you seek to prove your strength, honour and worthiness by reaching a portal atop a mountain, subduing your foes and bellowing your battle cry so loud even the gods can't ignore you. You'll have to assist in the construction of a village while looking after your Vikings' needs, balancing resources and constructing new facilities until you can finally make it to the portal and move on to the next randomly generated map. While there might be a lack of player involvement, I always enjoy chilling out to some Settlers 3, and Valhalla Hills greatly reminds me of that, just with some additional lovely visuals and a nice theme. The lack of story mode or long-term progression seems disappointing, especially for the price, but we're not inundated with lovely city building simulations these days, so I think I'll take what I can get. Planet Diver is a 2D down-scrolling arcade game where a wingsuited daredevil travels through space to seek out exotic planets and dangerous caverns to dive into. A fast-paced reaction game that'll see you hurtling down randomly generated alien caverns across 75 missions as you collect star stuff to spend on outfits, ability modifiers, or star maps to unlock new planets to go intergalactic spelunking on. I really like the game's pixely art style, and at under £3 certainly seems like it could be worth diving into, despite the feeling I'm going to be absolutely terrible at it. Corgi Warlock is a 1 to 4 player side-scrolling action platformer that sees a permanently startled Corgi attempting to take on the mighty skeleton Bunny King and his army of colourful underlings such as grumpy narwhals and crazed unicorns. While the GUI is quite ugly, the artwork fortunately isn't, with some great and colourful character designs. As well as the quest, which features over 60 types of enemies, the game also has a competitive player versus player battle mode to duke it out between friends. Usually I might have overlooked this game, but not only do I love bunnies, but I have belonged to a gaming clan for 14 years that went on to become the Necrotic Bunnies, a tag I still bear, so this game absolutely speaks to me, being centred around a skeleton Bunny King. While it does seem a bit simplistic, it does look rather enjoyable, and I'd be happy just seeing more of the interesting character designs, and the game is available on Steam now for just £4.99. Lowglow looks to be a relaxing physics-driven puzzle game about redirecting small balls of astral light around glowing obstacles in order to get them to a specific point on any given level. Featuring some lovely visuals and soothing ambient music, the game also has some dynamic sound effects as the balls of light ricochet around the levels, creating a gentle tinkle with each impact. User interaction seems limited, essentially tasking the player with creating a couple of lines around the level to redirect the balls with a bit of trial and error, as you also struggle against gravitational forces pushing and pulling the balls off their intended path. Featuring over 100 levels, the developers Rockadial also plan on adding a level editor and workshop integration for sharing and obtaining new levels easily. Lowglow, the rather tranquil audio-visual puzzle game, is available on Steam now for £4.75 until the 10th of December, where it will raise to the usual price of £5.59. Ruzar, the Lifestone, is a classic dungeon-crawling RPG that will see you exploring the depths of a dungeon with a grid-based movement system, defeating monsters, collecting treasures, navigating hazardous environments, and levelling up your character as you attempt to recover a legendary artifact. There's a fair chunk of customization on offer, as you'll assign skill points upon character creation and have more than 50 skills and spells at your disposal, and convenient storage chambers to store and swap between items as you play. The gameplay will be familiar to those who have played Legend of Grimrock, and Ruzar is available on Steam now for £9.99. That's all for this episode of Recap. Thank you very much for your time, and apologies for the dodgy audio that I hope to have fixed by the next podcast. Farewell.